Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. My name's Gabe Bowling. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that I take on every single deal that I'm submitting on today during the recession, going through the rate hike crisis, like what is actually happening in the environment. Is there a chance to buy deals? Is it a good time to buy deals? And so forth. That's what we're going to do in today's video. All I ask is throughout the entire video, if you found any value, make sure you drop a like, comment, more importantly, subscribe so that the channel gets more growth and more reach and we can help more people learn about multifamily. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump right in. So in this video, we're going to use a recent 100-unit deal that I actually submitted on in Tampa, Florida. I'm going to walk you through everything. So the first thing that you have to actually do when looking at deals is solve for the takeover NOI. We want to figure out what is the net income that we're buying as the new investor with new expenses, new taxes, new insurance. I'm going to go through this fairly quick. If you don't have the beginner and basic information about multifamily investing, we have a completely free course. It's in the description, 2 hours long and completely free. Go through that and then come back. So on this deal, there was an average of $1,500 for the rents, and there was 100 units, and there was 12 months in a year. And so if you just do it, 1,500 times 100 times 12, you get $1.8 million of gross possible income. And then we run at 95% occupancy because we're not going to be full the entire year. So we times it by 0.95, and then we have $1.7 million of gross income. Now on this deal, we were running at around 45% for the expenses. And so to skip a lot of the math behind it, we're just going to take this number, we're going to multiply it by the inverse. So if our expenses were 45%, that actually means that our NOI was 55% of that number. There was a net operating income of $940,000. And so on this deal, the takeover NOI, step number one, solve for the takeover NOI. We were buying approximately $950,000 of net operating income. So that's the first thing that we found out. Now let's move on to step number two. So now that we found the takeover NOI, we're moving on to step number two, which is figuring out, can this NOI support the loan that is being proposed to buy this property? And the reason you do this is instead of going into the future and figuring out how much upside is there, we need to figure out, is this the price that we can pay or are we way off? Because it doesn't matter how much is into the future yet. So doing this, they wanted $15 million for it. It's $150,000 a unit. And then the loan on this thing, 65% from Fannie or Freddie, the agencies that are going to give me the loan, they're going to give me 65% of the purchase price. And that means all in, we have to raise about $6 million of equity. This is a very important number because of the returns. Now that we know that we're almost trying to get a $10 million loan on it, we need to figure out, can the NOI that we're buying support that much of a loan? This is how we figure it out. The loan would be at 6% today. On a $10 million loan, 6%, a requirement from the lender is that we have to have a 1.25 or greater debt coverage ratio. So if you don't know what that is, go through the free course. But all in all, to figure out our principal and interest payment, because this has to be on a principal and interest payment, we're going to take the loan amount, 9.75, and multiply it by the 7.485% for the interest rate with principal and interest factored in. So I'm taking the loan amount and I'm multiplying it by 0.07485. That means the principal and interest payments would be $730,000 on the year. How do we know if the NOI is going to support this much in loan payments? All we're going to do is take this number, multiply it by 1.25. That means in order to support this loan, we need to have at least $912,000 of NOI, and we're buying $950,000 of NOI. So in this example, this thing should support this loan, which means we should be close on the purchase price. So we check this box, 912 is the minimum NOI, and our NOI is $950,000. And so that is a big check box. Now that we know that we can support the loan, now let's move into the future. Let's go look at the upside. Now that we figured out, one, what was the takeover NOI, and then we solve for the debt, can that NOI support the loan that we're trying to place on it? We checked both those boxes. Now let's go into the future. Let's see about how much there is an upside and what that might look like for the returns for the investors so that we can make a decision. So going into the future, there's $300 of upside per unit. Again, if you're not familiar with all this, go through the programs. Everything is inside of this. $300 of upside per unit. There's 100 units, and then there's 12 months in a year. That would be 300 times 100 times 12, $30,000 a month, $360,000 of new income. And then to figure out, which is one, huge plus because you're adding $360,000 of new cash flow to the investors. And then also thinking about it from the value perspective, if you take 360 grand, you divide it by 0.06, 6% cap rate, it adds $6 million of new value to the deal. So we buy it for $15 million. We can support the loan. We have positive cash flow out of the gate, paying anywhere between 6 to 7% to the investors. That's a checkbox. The way that I look at this, and I know for a fact this thing's going to be a good deal if we can get it awarded, is because we bought it for $15 million. We were able to get the type of loan that we wanted, 65% fixed for a 5, 7, or 10-year loan. There's $300 of upside, so we're going to have increases in cash flow. And then more importantly, I told you to hang on to the equity number. We invested all in $6 million of total equity. And then just alone in the upside from the rents, no other improvements, nothing else. In the rents alone, there's $6 million of additional value to be created. And for my deals and my criteria, I look for a double up on equity. So if we're investing $6 million and we can create another $6 million of value, then I love the deal and we're going to go after it, assuming it's in a good location with good bones and good people living in it. And so overall, this leads into looking at what the total returns are net to the investors after all fees, after everything is taken into account. Does it fit my return requirement? And if it does, I'm going to go and tour the property and I'm going to submit an offer on it. And so I wanted to open up the curtains and show you exactly every step that goes into it. I do this the exact same way on almost every single deal that gets sent to me. On any given size of the deal, what's the hold period? What are the total returns net to the investors? And is it in a good location? If it is, we can always figure out what price we can pay versus what price the broker is telling us. If you guys found any value throughout today's video, again, all I ask, drop a like, comment, tell me what you guys want to see next time, and most importantly, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.